Did you know that many hospice nurses can often tell when someone is nearing the end of life? It's not intuition or magic. It comes from years of attentive observation and recognizing subtle recurring patterns. While each person's passing is unique, there are 5 signs that commonly appear in the final days. Though it's a difficult subject to confront, especially as we age into our 60s, 70s, and beyond, many of us have already witnessed the end-of-life experience with a loved one, be it a spouse, sibling, friend, or parent. Understanding what typically happens can ease emotional stress and help us approach those final moments with greater calm, compassion, and even a sense of gratitude. In this video, we'll explore 5 key signs that experienced hospice nurses consistently notice before death. These insights aren't drawn from textbooks, but from hands-on experience. Nurses who sit quietly by the bedside, offer comfort, and observe small but significant details that families may overlook. Whether you're currently caring for someone or reflecting on your own future, recognizing these signs can bring clarity, peace, and a bit more courage during a deeply human moment. Let's begin. Sign number 1, withdrawing from the outside world. One of the earliest changes hospice nurses often observe is a person gradually distancing themselves from the world around them. This withdrawal doesn't happen abruptly, it's slow and subtle. The person may talk less, spend more time with their eyes closed, and stop answering calls. Even when visitors come, they might respond with a gentle smile but few words. It's as though their focus is shifting inward, to something beyond our reach. This change isn't necessarily about sadness or depression. Many experienced nurses describe it as peaceful, even intentional. Imagine a dimmer switch slowly lowering, rather than a light being turned off. It's a gentle fading of external engagement. The noise and demands of the outside world simply start to matter less. For loved ones, this can be confusing or even painful, especially when the person no longer shows interest in food, conversation, or shared activities. But from a caregiver's viewpoint, this is often the body and mind beginning to conserve energy for the final stage of life. There was a man named Walter, 84 years old, known for his vibrant personality and love of storytelling. In his last days, he asked for fewer visitors, kept the room quiet and dim, and declined music or TV. When his daughter offered to watch their favorite show, he gently replied, "Not today." Hospice nurses reassured her this wasn't rejection, but reflection. Walter was beginning to let go, silently and peacefully. This phase is less about emotional distance and more about a natural process of detachment. The body seems to know what lies ahead and begins preparing in a private, inward way. In these moments, the most compassionate thing we can do is simply be present, offering silent support without asking for anything in return. Sign number 2, shifts in breathing patterns. Another common sign that hospice nurses often notice is a change in the way a person breathes as they near the end of life. This shift can begin with longer pauses between breaths, more shallow inhalations, or irregular rhythms that feel unfamiliar. One particular pattern, known as Cheney-Stokes breathing, involves alternating periods of shallow breathing, pauses, and then deep breaths. While this may seem alarming to family members, it's actually a natural part of the dying process. To those watching, these breathing patterns can appear unsettling or even distressing, like the person is in discomfort or something is wrong. But for nurses who have cared for many individuals in their final moments, this is not usually a sign of pain. Instead, it's a sign that the body is transitioning. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do, gradually letting go. I recall a woman named Dorothy who was 79 and had sung in a choir for most of her life. She once said, "Breathing is the music we don't notice until it changes." In her last days, her breath moved like gentle waves, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Her daughter would quietly sit by her side and mirror her mother's rhythm, finding calm in those moments rather than fear. Physiologically, these changes occur because the brain's signals to the lungs begin to slow down. The body is not in distress, it's simply conserving energy and simplifying its functions. Psychologically, some believe this slowing rhythm helps turn the focus inward, encouraging stillness and peace. If you're finding this information helpful and insightful, feel free to comment number 2 below to let us know you're following along. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you won't miss future content. Your support allows us to continue sharing guidance and comfort for these deeply meaningful moments. Now let's continue. Sign number 3, withdrawing from the world. A third meaningful sign often observed by hospice nurses is a deeper withdrawal, not just from conversations or daily routines, but from the world itself. This isn't about rejecting loved ones or feeling angry. Instead, it's more like a gentle turning inward, a quiet process of preparing for what lies ahead. You may notice your loved one sleeping more, keeping their eyes closed even when awake, or showing little interest in things they once enjoyed. The TV stays off, phone calls go unanswered, and familiar activities no longer spark engagement. This change doesn't usually signal sadness or confusion. Often, the person is simply shifting focus from the external world to something internal and deeply personal, something we may not be able to fully grasp from the outside. Consider James, an 84-year-old retired train engineer, known for his vivid stories about long journeys and quirky passengers. In his final days, he spoke less, often gazing quietly out the window. When his granddaughter brought him a toy train, hoping it might revive his old storytelling spirit, he gently touched it, smiled faintly, and whispered, "That chapter's over." It wasn't sorrowful, it was peaceful. Psychologically, this kind of withdrawal can act as a cushion, helping the person conserve energy while signaling a deeper sense of acceptance. In hospice care, this phase is treated with deep respect. It's not rushed or interrupted. It's seen as the person's own sacred space and time. Family members often want to keep their loved ones engaged, encouraging conversation, offering food, playing familiar shows. That desire comes from love, but hospice nurses gently remind us that stepping back can also be a powerful act of love. Simply holding a hand, sitting quietly, or offering presence without expectation can be the greatest gift in those moments. And often what fills that silence isn't sadness, it's softness, a tender kind of letting go, like the slow, quiet closing of a well-loved book, one page at a time. Sign number 4, a sudden surge of energy. This next sign often catches families off guard, and sometimes brings a wave of hope that their loved one is recovering. But for seasoned hospice nurses, a sudden burst of energy, often referred to as the rally, can actually indicate that the end is very near. It's a striking moment when someone who has been silent or barely responsive might suddenly sit up, ask for a favorite meal, or begin reminiscing with remarkable clarity. To those unfamiliar with this phase, it may look like a turning point toward recovery. In truth, it's more often the body's final push of effort, a brief, bright moment before fading, much like the final flicker of a candle. What makes this moment so poignant isn't just the energy, but the presence of mind. People who had been confused or disengaged may suddenly become lucid. They might express love, ask for someone they haven't mentioned in years, offer forgiveness, or share meaningful words they'd been holding on to. Take George, for example, a 79-year-old retired farmer who had been unresponsive for 3 days. One morning, he opened his eyes, asked for coffee, and told his son to take care of the apple trees in the south field because they weren't getting enough sun. He smiled, cracked a joke, and requested his favorite song. That night, he passed away peacefully. Medically, this rally may be linked to a final release of adrenaline or chemical changes in the body. Emotionally, though, it's often a gift, a final window to connect, say goodbye, or simply share a moment of warmth. It's important not to interpret this surge as recovery. Instead, see it as something sacred, a meaningful final chapter. If you find yourself present during such a moment, don't rush, just be there. Listen, speak your heart, say what needs to be said. If you're still following along and finding this helpful, comment number 4 below. And if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications to stay connected. Your support helps us continue offering thoughtful, supportive content. Let's continue. Sign number 5, changes in breathing. As someone nears the end of life, one of the most visible and significant changes is in their breathing. While it may appear alarming to those unfamiliar with the process, hospice nurses recognize these shifts as natural signs that the body is slowly releasing its hold. Not something to fear, but something to understand. One of the most common patterns is called Cheney-Stokes breathing. This involves a cycle where the person breathes deeply for a brief period, then pauses for several seconds before starting again. To loved ones, it may sound like the person is gasping or struggling, but in reality, most are not in distress. The body is simply adjusting as it moves through the final stages. Breathing often becomes slower, more irregular, and shallower over time. This can continue for hours or just a few minutes. Another sound that may occur is known as the death rattle, a wet, gurgling noise caused by saliva or mucus accumulating in the throat as the person can no longer clear it. Though unsettling, hospice nurses reassure families that the person is usually unaware of the sound and not in pain. At this stage, most are in a deeply relaxed, peaceful state. Nurses may reposition the individual or offer medication to reduce the sound, but their primary goal is comfort, not control. I recall Carol, 82, who had been unconscious for 2 days. Her daughter stayed by her side without leaving. One evening, Carol's breathing began to shift, slowing, pausing, starting again just once or twice. Her daughter held her hand quietly through it all. Later, she said it felt like watching the tide gently roll out, a peaceful farewell. Though these changes in breathing often signal that the end is near, they don't require fear. Instead, they invite us to be fully present, sitting quietly, whispering love, offering reassurance. These small acts of presence often mean more than anything else in those final moments. Final thoughts. If you've read this far, thank you. This is not an easy subject, but it's one we all encounter, either through the loss of someone dear or in preparing for our own journey. Understanding what to expect doesn't erase the sadness, but it can replace fear with a quiet sense of confidence and peace. Hospice nurses often compare death to birth. Both are natural transitions, each with its own rhythm and signs. Just as a newborn draws their first breath, those nearing the end take their last. Neither moment should be rushed or feared. Both deserve to be met with care, dignity, and love. If you've ever sat beside someone in their final days, you know how deeply sacred those moments can be. The silence, the gentle holding of a hand, the still presence that speaks louder than words. It's not about heroic acts, it's simply about showing up. Your presence alone can offer more comfort than you may realize. Whether you're preparing for the road ahead or reflecting on a loss in your past, I hope these insights have offered you something meaningful, perhaps a little more clarity, a greater sense of peace, and a deeper well of compassion. Thank you for spending time with us today. We'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below sharing one insight you gained and how you plan to apply it. Your input matters and truly encourages us. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us keep producing meaningful content to inform and inspire others. We appreciate you watching and look forward to having you with us again in the next video.